Welcome back to the Logan Show. With me today, the one and only, the legend, Tracii Guns. Tracii, what's happening, man?
I'm getting rolling. It's, just afternoon in LA, and I've been up for at least a couple hours.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do it. Obviously, we got to get into the new LA Guns album, but before we do that, of course, big news over the weekend. I saw you made a very nice post about David Johansen from the New York Dolls, who sadly passed away.
Yeah, that is crazy that they're kind of like Motorhead. They're all gone now,
Yeah.
And, that band had such a huge impact on, not only LA Guns, but Guns N' Roses, both those projects, we were looking at New York Dolls, just like we were looking at Aerosmith, same kind of impact and, the kind of the ultimate 5-piece, lineage, Yardbirds, Rolling Stones, New York Dolls, Aerosmith. It's just the prototype.
Yeah, absolutely horrible news. Did you know David at all, or anyone from the Dolls for that matter back in the day?
I never met David, but I played with Johnny Thunders a couple times.
Oh, no kidding.
And in his band at the time, Jerry Nolan was the drummer, and Arthur Kane was the bass player. So, I got to know Arthur Kane pretty well, and Johnny Thunders, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, I knew those dudes, but I didn't know David.
Well, obviously, New York Dolls, major innovators in the early punk scene, and which, I mean, you've made, you frequently have said, what a fan of punk you are, and you're also, you appear in the new Sex Pistols documentary about Glenn Matlock. Yeah. I Was a Teenage Sex Pistol. That came out, it was like a month ago or something that finally came out, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't even know if it is out yet. I saw the advertising for it, but I've been busy talking to cool people like you, so I haven't had too much time to do anything else. But yeah, from what I saw of it, it's very good. A lot of people that know Glenn or understand what the Sex Pistols really was were interviewed for the documentary, and that's a huge part of my musical experience as a teenager.
You've been doing a lot of documentary, that one, and then of course Nothing But a Good Time, which came out last year, which I finally got around to watching maybe a month or two ago, and it was really, really well done, and Jeff Tremaine did a great job putting that together.
Yeah, he's such a it's funny about Jeff because he's so good at what he does, but at the same time he's just this really happy-go-lucky, smart guy, and he actually came here to the house to film my thing, and he was so knowledgeable, and that's the thing is a lot of times, you talk to people when they're doing a project and they don't get all the details right. They get most of the details right. But the thing about Jeff is either he just spent, a month in an 80s rock encyclopedia vault, or he really, knows his stuff. So, and, we watched it at the Rainbow. He did like a premiere there, and everybody kind of got together and watched it there. And it really shows you how, yes, it was exciting and there was, extreme highs, but it also shows the extreme lows, and that's a very well-balanced story. And, for us, of course, the story continues. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, since you and Phil got back together, I mean, you guys been busy because this new album, Leopard Skin, which comes out April 4th, this is what the fifth album, I believe, since you guys reunited, and it's a great album. I've listened to it a couple times now. The first single, Taste It, out now, and that video for Taste It, man, is awesome when you guys are doing the shots of Pepto, and it's just so fucking funny, man.
Yeah, part 2 comes out on the 6th. We just posted it, actually, the teaser for Lucky Motherfucker. So it just gets worse from there. It just goes.
Yeah, is there going to be is there a part three, or is it just those two that are kind of tied in together?
It's just those two. It's a very, very, very mini documentary.
Well, one of the highlights of the album for me, and I'm sure a majority of people will probably say this when the full thing is out, but that song "Runaway Train," which I'm guessing you already knew is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking cool song. It's something very different for LA Guns. It's almost in a way the LA Guns' Ice Cream Man in a way. It's such a cool song.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't heard that observation yet, but that is the song that everybody in every interview that's heard the record, they're like, wow, where did that come from? And the simple story is that I was watching that show, the series Reacher, and he's so into old blues music, and it's a Blind Blake tuning that kind of reoccurs throughout the show. So it brought me back to when I was really, really, researching blues and getting into blues. And I went and learned the tuning, and I was just messing around with it for a couple of weeks, and I came up with the music. And but it's some darker chord changes in it, but and then at the same time, my girlfriend and I have this little saying, like when something's good, we're like, yeah, let's get on the fuck yeah train, like kind of thing. So the writing title was Fuck Yeah Train. And then, when we got it done, it's now Runaway Train. But yeah, you are focusing in right where everybody else is, and that makes me feel really good.
Is that something that you guys will play live when you start the tour in April?
Oh man, I don't think I could play that.
No. Oh man,
it took me so many takes to do just the rhythm part, just to get from point A to point B. It's not that it's that difficult, it's that it's very repetitive. And it's got this thing, and I'm also playing slide at the same time. So I shouldn't say never. I mean, we'd have to sit down as a band and figure out how we would do that with the two different tune guitars and everything. I mean, anything's possible, but if people keep talking about it like this, we're gonna have to.
It really is it's a great song, man. And the other thing about LA Guns that I think everybody is has realized is that so many of your peers, they go out and tour, and it is just stuff that they put out in the heyday, and that's it. Even if they do release new music, and LA Guns does not do that, you guys throw all sorts of new stuff into the set list. And I never understood the concept of why go in and do a record if you're not going to play any of it. I mean, what is the point? So it's great that you guys do play new stuff when you get out there, because I mean, obviously you have to play, whatever, Electric Gypsy or Ballad of Jayne or whatever. But I mean, it also, I think, I'm sure keeps fans coming back. It's not like, well, I just saw LA Guns a couple years ago, I'm just going to hear the same shit. It's a different show every time, because there's almost a new album at this point, almost every year it feels like. So there's always new stuff.
Yeah, I think that we've just never broken the tradition of what we do. Traditionally, you make a record, you put out songs that you think are the most attractive songs, to radio, and you get new people, right? Hopefully you get new people, and we do. We get new people every time we put a new record out. And they do expect to hear those one or two new songs live. A lot of bands don't tour the way that we do either, the older bands, where they're doing more of nostalgia kind of weekend, maybe casino shows, stuff like that, where, we like to get on the bus, we like to drive all over the country, fly overseas, and play every night. And we wouldn't do the new music if we didn't think that it stood up to the classic kind of what people, the older fans know. We don't want to bore anybody, and we really understand that chemistry between the audience and the band live. I've been at Aerosmith gigs where they bust out, and this is going for years, where they bust out the new stuff, and it's always great. But there's been other bands I've gone to see where they bust out something, and the thing is that they bust out music that nobody's ever heard, and that's a strange thing. And you ask, why don't these bands play their stuff? A lot of bands record records that just kind of go into the forest. You know what I mean? That they don't get a nice push, or they're not received at all online or by radio. And if that's the case, there's really no point, because if something didn't kind of break through for you, it's certainly not going to break through for you live. Because a great song is a great song from the first second. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, that's cool. And then it makes people want to hear it again. My only thing is, I wish we could play more new stuff live, but we can't physically, we can't play a 3-hour set, and no audience wants to sit through 3 hours of music.
No, for sure. I mean, I've seen some bands, including your former band, Guns N' Roses, and it's a 3.5 hour show almost. And I mean, you certainly get what you pay for. You definitely get some bang for your buck, but at the same time, it is almost, and a lot of bands, to be fair, don't have quite the catalog like GNR, even though it's kind of small, but every song is so huge. But right. It's almost like a workout, it's like, holy shit. I mean, I don't know how much longer I can sit here, it gets a little intense for 3.5 hours for sure. I kind of like short and sweet, 90 minutes, in and out, and kind of leave you wanting more.
But I think Guns N' Roses really traditionally does that. You know what I mean? Like they've always done that, as Led Zeppelin did. You know what I mean? Like, these are the types of bands that really dig being on stage for a long time. And I think from the band's point of view, it's for them. It's what they want to do. It's their party every night, and the audience is just witnessing their party. And it's great. And I don't know if they design their set list to necessarily, pelt the audience for 3.5 hours. I think it's just, they go, hey man, I want to jam over this riff for 20 minutes, and I want to do this and that. And I think it's awesome. I mean, I have a very short attention span, for live music. I have not been to that many concerts. I have seen Guns N' Roses a couple times. But, I mean, even with Motorhead, after 40 minutes, I'd start getting fidgety, and I know every word to every song, and, but for us, and our audience, we're high energy pretty much the whole set, so, don't want to exhaust anybody, including ourselves.
Are you tired of playing, Ballad of Jayne? I heard you say recently that, when you guys first wrote that song, you were like, wow, now we have a song that will make us a nostalgia band forever, that you even realized that at the time. But, I would also imagine that, does it get exhausting? Like, when that's probably the one song that everybody wants to hear, or are you, thankful for it?
No, I'm really thankful for it, and I'm never going to get burnt out on playing a song. You know what I mean? It's from the guitar point of view, and the way that I do it live from night to night, month to month, year to year, is it has a lot of room for evolution and de-evolution and what's the word? Improvising, because it's basically a slow country song in a major key. And we don't have any other ones. Like, that's the only one. So when we play it, my guitar setup is different just for that one song. Everything's different for that song. So, the only thing that might be annoying is that I have to have a completely different sound to do it. You know what I mean? But no, I love doing it. And, this many years later, the audience sings it very loud. And that's an undeniably great, scratching of the itch. It's like, wow, we look at each other like, damn, this is fucking badass.
Yeah, and really, created something that still connects with people after all these years. It's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah. I mean, we got one.
Well, the band has had the same lineup for the last few years. Yourself, Phil Lewis, Ace Von Johnson on guitar, Johnny Martin on bass, and then studio drummer Adam Hamilton, who used to be the bass player, and then
Yeah.
Sean Duncan live. Why do you have a studio drummer and then a different drummer for the road?
Um, the main reason why Adam and I stay so tight is because we really inspire each other during the writing process. And that started when he was playing bass in LA Guns on what was Waking the Dead album. And he has an incredible gig being a producer. He ain't leaving the studio to go slum around the world with a rock band. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He's got his whole life going. And it's just that we write really well together, like that kind of glove in hand kind of thing where we work fast. We have ideas that we're able to bounce off each other constantly without, that weird animosity that sometimes builds up between writers, because
Sure.
everybody has their own little jar of spice they want to add. Well, Adam and I, we really see eye to eye on most things. And the other thing is our interest in recording methods and sound is just as strong as the songwriting we do together. So imagine having not only songwriting and getting off on the cool shit you can do, but then also knowing how to record it properly for each other back and forth, because he's doing drums, he's doing keyboards, and I'm doing guitars and noise, and that has to blend via email. You know what I mean? We're sending files back and forth on the internet, to get these records done. And we locked in a long time ago. And that's why Adam and I, we've done all the other side projects together too. Like I've done a band called Sunbomb, 2 albums with Adam, another thing called Blackbird Angels with Adam, and we just get it done. And that's why we have Sean, who's just a beast live drummer. I mean, he looks the part, sounds the part, nicest guy in the world, easy to travel with. And then Adam and I get to do all the stress. We get to take on the stress.
I always see these. I always see a lot of these lists that I'm sure you've come across as well. People always like to talk about bands that are. I don't know the best way to say this. I guess bands that are sort of unfairly kind of lumped in as run of the mill, hair metal bands. Some of the ones that got a little corny towards the end, and
Yeah.
LA Guns, of course, not one of those cookie cutter bands, and very different than a lot of your peers. But I would love to know who are some of those bands from that time that you think outside of LA Guns are maybe a little underrated. The list's always, bands like Cinderella and Tesla and shit like that, where they kind of got lumped in with everyone else, but they're always, they always kind of had their own little thing going on.
I mean, I think that Dangerous Toys.
Oh, hell yeah. Dangerous Toys is awesome.
They they might not be the best band, but there aren't any other rock and roll bands that are as good as them. You know what I mean? Like they're killer. And same with Tora Tora. That was a tour we did. Tora Tora with Anthony Corder, man, that guy, mind blowing back then, and still going. But for some reason, people aren't drawn in a way to everything. You know what I mean? And I think that during that time, things that were very glossy and bright and shiny were the things that kind of were the biggest things, and that kind of covers up, the kind of cool rock and roll stuff that was going on. Like anybody, I respect anybody that did it, got a record deal, went out there and did their thing, but it's a tough business, man. It's really tough. And that's why LA Guns we do exactly what we want to do, because formulas and algorithms and all these things that have been around since before the internet, they don't apply, to art. They might apply to some sort of short-term commercial success, but they definitely don't apply to the longevity of an individual creator, because when I mean individual creator is an individual that creates what they feel they need to create or what comes out naturally. And LA Guns, through all the lineup changes, this, that, and the other, if Phil and I are on the same recording, it doesn't matter what style of music it is, because it's a thing, by itself. Phil and I doing music together is something that's not like something else. And, you either like it or you don't like it, and, but the longevity speaks volumes, and the kind of respect that we do get from our peers, that has a lot of value to it.
Of course.
But everything's cool, everything's good, so we just keep doing it. Maybe someday we'll have another Ballad of Jayne.
Well, touching on something you just said, about various lineups over the years, one of my favorite eras of the band, outside of the classic lineup, is when Michael Starr from Steel Panther was singing for the band, and you guys did the Wasted EP. God, he's such a fucking good singer. The Wasted EP is so good. And there's video online on YouTube of shows that you guys did. And, even a song like Ballad of Jayne, for example, I mean, he's such a fucking good singer. It almost sounds like Phil Lewis live, but, no, just that Wasted EP is so good. And what a great time for the band.
Yeah, I think so too, and, that ability for Ralph to come in, or Michael Starr to come in and still do almost the David Lee Roth shtick, but sing these more less fun songs. That's all I can say. LA Guns with a little bit of dark shit around. Sure. It really made it fun, for that year. And, Forgiving Eyes, on the EP, and, that whole EP is killer. I mean, but it just shows that that's the other singer that I had really great chemistry with, you know what I mean? And I've been really lucky, with great vocalists and doing stuff, because, nobody cares about a guitar player unless they have a great singer, right? Like, you don't give a shit about, somebody shredding it up if the singer's just mundane.
Of course.
Nobody cares, so that the singer is everything in a rock and roll band. It just is. I don't care how great a drummer you are. If your singer's terrible, no one gives a shit. It's just such a weird thing. But at the same time, it makes sense. And, a lot of people, God, this is so brutal. They get a singer just because they need a singer. They don't they don't go the extra mile to make sure, like, this guy's great, or this lady's great, But that's where it starts, man. If that's what everybody's seeing at the front of the stage, they better be something else, Well,
and you really have had your fair share of working with great singers, from Axl Rose to Michael Starr to Phil Lewis. I mean, it's you definitely it's been a great run, that's for sure. Are you a fan of Steel Panther? There's definitely some guys from your time that are very resistant to it, and they don't appreciate the humor behind it. But where do you land on that?
Yeah, any guy from my era that doesn't like Steel Panther or doesn't get Steel Panther is the reason why they're an asshole. Steel Panther is the greatest tribute to 80s rock, hair metal. The lyrics are amazing. The musicianship is amazing. The stage show is exciting. It's like, are you looking in the mirror and you don't like what you see? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that,
of course.
Like, because like, to me, it's like looking in the mirror and I go, man, that guy used to sing in LA Guns. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so badass. And they're so badass and they're so funny.
They are, and just incredible musicians. I mean,
incredible, next level.
Absolutely. Satchel, going back to when he was just Russ and playing with Rob Halford and Fight and shit like that. I mean, just absolutely incredible band. But it's got to almost give you a sense of this.
In reality, really in reality, of all the hair metal bands or, whatever you want to call it, 80s rock bands that are still out there, Steel Panther's the most entertaining one. Period.
I would have to agree. Period. Yeah.
There ain't nobody in no stadium doing what fucking Steel Panther does.
LA Guns.
Let's be honest.
Have LA Guns and Steel Panther ever played together?
No, but Ralph and I talk about it all the time.
That would be fucking awesome.
Like it's always like, every 6 months we have like a 10-minute conversation. It's like, yeah, we need to tour together. And that's like how every conversation ends, and we never do. But we love to fantasize about it.
Well, I know we're running out of time, but the one last thing I really wanted to talk about is one of my favorite projects of yours is Brides of Destruction, especially that first album. I loved that fucking album. And the original name, though, before you guys settled on that, it was originally called Cockstar, right?
That's right. That was the name. That should have been the name. I love that name to this day. I wish I had a band called Cockstar.
That is a great name. And
I think so.
When you and Nikki Sixx put that together, that was around the time Mötley Crüe was on a hiatus, and you had just left or was just about to leave LA Guns, and then you guys decided to put that together, right?
Well, Nikki and I wanted to do something together. And I was on tour with LA Guns at the time. And then we decided to do something. And then I told the guys in LA Guns, we were on some miserable tour, man, going on at like 2:33 in the afternoon every day on a festival, just like totally sucking the man's dick. You know what I mean? And I was just like, yo, I ain't into this. I'm gonna go disappear for a couple of years, and then I'll be back, and we'll sort some shit out. And so, Nikki's thing with Mötley at the time was, I don't know if it was a hiatus. It was just they were non-existent. Vince was doing his thing, Tommy was doing his thing, and Mick wasn't feeling well. He was going through some kind of some stuff in his, he had some infections in his blood, he had some stuff going on. And so when Nikki and I started playing together, it was like, two guys just on a mission to be 15 years old again. You know what I mean? It really was. It was like, man, we got to do something exciting and have fun and be obnoxious. And I was all in. I'm like, fuck yeah, man, let's do this. But it had its shelf life, and it was fucking awesome. I mean, some of my favorite performances that I've ever done were, playing like Live Wire, Piece of Your Action live, because Mötley Crüe had a huge influence, especially the first two records on what I do for LA Guns. Is very directly related to Mötley Crüe's early music. So, that's also, one of my favorite things I've ever done.
And those albums are they're super raw and just in your face. Yeah. And I fucking love it. But when you guys got that going and you're doing shows, opening, I think you guys were opening for bands like Mudvayne and Taproot and shit like that. Is it sort of a weird feeling, like, for both you and I guess, Nikki too, you guys had both experienced such big success, in the 80s, and then now you're in the opening band. Is it kind of a weird feeling, like, holy fuck? Or is it like, is it not something that bothered you?
Well, no. Okay. So to be fair, we did 2 shows with those guys.
Okay.
And we were an unannounced band.
This is like a surprise type of thing.
Well, not even. It was like we wanted to go play.
Okay.
And one was just north of LA, and the second show was in Orange County, just south of LA. But it was kind of like also a little bit of a test, right? Like, we're going to go and play in front of a completely different audience, way younger. And we did okay. They didn't love us. There's no, I'm not gonna lie about that. But I'll tell you the one show that was really bad for us. We were in Europe and we were doing a bunch of festivals, and most of the festivals were, suited for us, Donington was like Metallica and Slayer and us and Damageplan. It was awesome. But we did this one. I think it's I can't remember, the Fire Fest or something in Italy, and we had Korn was the headliner, and Clutch was on there, and I'm trying Soulfly.
Oh wow!
So it was Clutch, Brides of Destruction, Soulfly, and Korn. So I'm watching Clutch, and they were getting a pretty good response. I'm like, okay, this is going to be fun. And I was already nervous. I was already like, man, I feel trippy, man. I got my eyeliner on. I got my platform soles on, And so watching Clutch, and they went over pretty good. And they're a slow band. They aren't like a high energy kind of thing. And I was digging on that. And then we're up, right? That audience gave two fucking absolutely zero fuck about. We go into live wire at the end, and they're like, "What the fuck is this shit?" I'm like, "Whoa, man!" Instant humility. Like wow. And then Soulfly went on, and I think there were 40,000 people there. Jeez. And the place just went fucking ape shit. And that was nothing compared to when Korn came on. Korn came on, and it looked like everybody was gonna die. Just like you've seen it. The way the audience just like, it's like 100 degrees outside. The sun's just going down, and fucking Jonathan Davis, are you ready? And the audience was like, let's go. The fucking place just erupted. So that was not the place for Brides of Destruction. But then we did a bunch of shows with Turbo Negro and Alice Cooper in Europe, and those were perfect for us. Like that landed just right. But yeah, that was definitely an experience. And of course, our headliner shows were always great. They were cool.
Well, you mentioned Damageplan, and on the second Brides of Destruction album, Runaway Brides, there's the song Dimes in Heaven, which of course is because that album came out, 2005, and he was murdered in 2004, I believe. So did you have any sort of relationship with Dimebag?
Oh, yeah. I go back with all the Pantera guys and half their crew to not Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar.
Okay.
They were playing at the Costa Mesa Amphitheater, and my friend Blues Saraceno was already friends with Dimebag, and he's like, man, you gotta come, man. Dime wants to meet you, dude. And I'm like, really? Like, all right, So I don't think Blues and I went together. I think I just went down there, and I'm there by myself, in a completely weird environment that I've never been in. I don't know anybody in any of these bands. And I hear from the backstage area, which was outdoors, T-fucking-G, I'm like, and it's Dime.
Wow.
He comes to grab me, man. And, I met all the dudes that day. We had such a fucking good time. And then that relationship with those guys carried on for like a couple of years. And then, they had their drama. Of course, my bands had their drama. We're in bands. We have drama.
Of course.
And then, so the next time, Dime and Vinny and I really hung out was at Donington, that one show where they arrived late, and they got they swapped. It was funny. They swapped positions with Slayer. Slayer was really cool about the whole thing. Slayer actually went on right before Brides, and because that was Damageplan slot, and Damageplan ended up going on the big stage later. Just because they their flight was delayed or like whatever. But anyways, they got there and they were starving and hungover, and we found this little building. Like, I don't even know what it was, but we found this little building, and we all got this like cardboard box of chili and cheese and hot dogs, and we were all eating this crap, telling all these stories, and then we left before they played. And then Nikki was being given an award at the Metal Hammer thing, and Dimebag was getting like Guitarist of the Year thing at the Metal Hammer Awards. So we went there like 2 days later to the venue where this was. And then Dime and I and Vinny and Nikki shared a dressing room, for this thing. And I've got video that I'm never going to show anybody. It was so funny. There was a lot of alcohol involved. And, I don't drink that much. Vinny doesn't drink that much, or didn't drink that much at the time. And Nikki was sober, so we had basically Dimebag holding court. And the dressing room was actually the Gibson exhibit booth at the show that they shut off for us while we were there. The guitars didn't survive. And it caused a big thing later. But that was the last time I hung out with Dimebag. It wasn't, and that was 2004. Wow. And then then Vinny got on stage with LA Guns for the first time after Dime was murdered, down in Deep Ellum. I was doing a thing with Brides without Nikki, and Vinny got up there and played Rip and Tear, and that was the first time I'd seen him since the incident. Him and his bestie at the time, John Graham. And, we had a lot of conversations that night. And then Vinny moved to Vegas, and I was in Vegas for a couple of years doing Raiding the Rock Vault, this big show. And so I saw Vinny pretty often, and he would come out, when LA Guns would play and stuff. And then the next thing I know, he was gone too, man. I'm still in touch with Rex, though, regularly.
Yeah. Have you seen Pantera since they have sort of, started the pseudo reunion thing?
I haven't, I watch it all the time, like when the YouTube videos come up with live shows and stuff. And, for me, it's good to see, because there's a huge void in music where that, Vinny and Dime left. And the fact that Charlie and Zach are up there filling those roles and, kicking ass and just doing it. And it's making so many people happy that go to those shows. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a whole nother way of looking at it that just is irrelevant. If people are packing out those shows and they're getting off, then they are absolutely doing the right thing.
I always admire whenever I hear or see you in an interview that you are very receptive to, other forms of music. There's a lot of guys where it's like, it's just got to be, this is the only way and everything else sucks. And, down to grunge, like you say in that Nothing But a Good Time documentary, most of the guys from your era are, all have the same mindset of, well, grunge ended my career, grunge killed us. And, you're a lot more receptive to it and almost appreciative for it. And I think I heard you say that you had a great way of putting it, is that, the 80s were all, party and everybody's fucking, woohoo. And then grunge comes out and it's like, all right, I got to take a break. And, we're going to, we spent so long partying. Now we got to sing about real shit and, all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's like The Hangover, right? Like there's the party and there's the hangover.
Sure.
It's yin and yang, it totally makes sense. And, I might have a different point of view about it if it ended my career. But it didn't.
This is true.
You know what I mean? I got to be real honest about it. But I mean, there's no denying whether you like Nirvana or not, or the vibe or whatever it is. Smells Like Teen Spirit is a fucking generational music destroyer. It's so massive. It's so awesome. It's so much more metal than metal. You know what I mean? It is so gnarly and so emotional at the same time that you can't deny that. If you do, you're just a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that shit is fucking like, what the fuck, man? I wish I wrote that shit. It's fucking awesome.
And were you a fan when all that stuff was coming out too, or were you a little more resistant to it when it was first coming out, and you've warmed up to it over the years?
No, man, my friend, man, I wish I could remember who it was. Somebody that worked at Geffen gave me the advanced cassette. Like, I never heard Bleach, I never heard their first release. But a friend of mine gave me the cassette of Nevermind, an advance, just on a plain cassette, And LA Guns, we were on tour when I got the cassette. I might have even been in like Maryland. I keep thinking about Maryland, and I don't know who there would have given it to me. But I got on the bus and I'm like, hey man, you guys want to hear this? It's this band Nirvana, and like people are saying it's killer, And they're like, yeah, throw it on. And I put side 2 on first. It's a cassette. I don't know. I put side 2 in, and it's like, okay. I mean? Like everybody, nobody was impressed, But in the morning when I got up, I put it on side A, and then fucking Smells Like Teen Spirit comes on. I'm like, oh, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, it was like a real moment of like, am I hearing what is this great? And I'm like, yeah, this is really great. And the other guys were like, what's this? And I'm like, it's the same cassette. This is Nirvana. They're like, whoa, all right, okay, kick ass. So we head over to Europe like 6 weeks later, and I find a Nirvana Bleach shirt in Camden. And I buy it and I wear it on stage on the Skid Row tour, And our sound man, Sean Bevan, he would use Smells Like Teen Spirit from my cassette to ring out the PA in the morning every day on tour.
Oh wow!
And so I turned the Skid Row guys onto it, and they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's this," And even Kerrang gave me, some kind of like accolades about being clairvoyant, because the record came out like a month after we were done in Europe, and they posted the picture of me wearing the Bleach shirt Nirvana, and hey man, good music's good music. That's all there is to it, man. There's no genre specific reason to be genre specific. I mean, you either love music or you don't. And I guess when we're younger, when we're teenagers and young boys playing guitars, it's all metal. You can't get enough distortion. Right. You can't get loud enough. And I understand that too, because I was that guy, and I was definitely that guy when our first album came out. It's like, I'm going to rip your face off with my guitar. That's all I cared about. But at the same time, it's like, I love Gary Holt. I love fucking Tommy Emmanuel. I love Greg Koch. I like all styles, but I play like me. You know what I mean? Like, I'll cop other people's styles. I've never been good at learning other people's music, which is, I think, has been a really good benefit for me, because I just can like go, I want this to feel like this. I want it to feel like that. And so to get those kind of feelings, not being able to really master somebody else's licks, I have to pull from a lot of different places, and I love Keith Richards and Johnny Thunders just as much as I love Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads.
Well, that's what music is. I mean, it's inspiration. You get inspiration from everywhere. But last thing I want to ask you before I let you go, which it really blew my mind when I found this out, is that you are in the music video for "Beat It" from Michael Jackson.
there's a horror. I hope this doesn't make this woman sad. So there's another guy in the video that I suppose kind of looks like me. But at the time, the guy was like 35 years old. I was 17, okay. Right? So there's this woman online. She keeps posting the picture of this guy in the video.
Right.
I love you, Tracii Guns, Michael Jackson video. And my girlfriend, she sends it to me every time. Like, there she goes again. Are you going to say something? I'm like, nope. I'm not going to say nothing. But yeah. Yeah, if you really need to see me in the video, I'm the guy in the black leather jacket running around the back of the truck.
Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind.
Because that's the longest amount of time you see me in the video. I mean, you see my face a couple of times, but it's so fast that you think that it's somebody else that's 40 years old.
How did that even come together? How did you end up in that video?
Well, my roommate David Preston, who was my best friend, like straight out of high school. You know, we got our first apartment together and stuff. He is an actor, and he did a lot of extra work, and he was also a pretty damn good dancer. And he tells me one day, he goes, "Hey, I'm going to be in the Beat It video." You know, the song was already out. You know, it was a big song, but the video wasn't out, hadn't been made. And I'm like, "That's a song with Eddie Van Halen in it, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." I go, "Can I be in that? Like, can I really go be in that video?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can bring you down as a extra dancer." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in. I'm going to meet Eddie Van Halen." You know, and of course, I'm there for 2 days doing all the work. No Eddie Van Halen. You know, but I did see Michael Jackson. You know, I mean, we danced with Michael Jackson, and I saw him walk across the parking lot. You know, I was like, "Fuck, that's Michael Jackson." You know, I was 17. It was awesome.
But you didn't get.
I made more money in those 2 days than I had in my entire life up to that point.
Oh wow, no kidding. So you got paid decent to be an extra.
Yeah. Especially for that one, it was like both days were overtime, so I got like $2,400, you know, for the 2 days.
Oh wow.
And I remember my mom, you know, like, "How much did they pay you?" I'm like, nah, they didn't give me no bucks. It was great. Yeah.
Wow, that's a fucking great story. Well, we are way past time, so I apologize, but I appreciate it. And the new LA Guns album, Leopard Skin, comes out April 4th. Tracii, thank you so much, man. It was so great to have you on. I've wanted to have you on for a while, and I'm glad it finally worked out.
Nice, man. It was really fun. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to say to everyone as we wrap this one up?
Rock and roll.
I guess we should also say too that the tour starts on April 22nd, and you're doing the Monsters of Rock cruise that kicks off next week, right?
That's next week, and then we got all the tour dates will be posted soon. Yeah, we have the tour starts. I think it's even earlier than April 22nd, maybe not. But then it keeps going till the end of the year, and we have most of the dates. We're confirming some things, but you know, we got like, I don't know, 50 shows between now and New Year's Eve. So lots of touring coming up.
Yeah, lots of opportunities to check out the band. I've still never seen you guys, so hopefully you'll be coming to my neck of the woods. So, well, Tracii, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
Peace.